All right, just got back from the Kari Lake speaking engagement in Meridian, Idaho. This was awesome. She was awesome. The crowd was great. It was at a church. They started off with a prayer, which is always great, then continued on with the Pledge of Allegiance, and just such an amazing time. I had a really great time. Hope my brother-in-law did too. Thank you for coming out. It was a lot of fun. So I got, and I haven't found if they have like, I know they were filming it, so I'm not sure, if they're going to put that out there later. I hope that they do. I took a couple clips. I have some audio clips, so I'm going to try to move that into just one video later on. Hopefully, they're going to stream it or replay it or do something so people can watch it and hear it because it was great. It was a really great speech. Um, and before I get to that, one of the things that I was really hoping for that did not happen was I was hoping to purchase Carrie Lake's book. Apparently, what happened is that her book was shipped to the wrong location. That's what the people at the check-in booth told me. And they had a place where you could scan it and buy it and everything, but it's like, okay, that's cool. I can go to Barnes and Nobles or go somewhere and purchase it. Probably go to her website, probably carrylake.com. You could probably buy it there. But the more I thought about it, I was like, man, is that real? Like, or were there some shenanigans going on there? So I was a little upset about that, but it was still a great time. I had a great time. And I just want to recap some of the things. I got a few clips, three little short 1 minute, 2 minute clips, and some audio, just in case we never it never makes the light of day. I mean, she talked about everything, all of the stuff that you hear her talk about in other interviews and past things, and she's still fighting the Arizona governor race. She's not giving up on that. And she's saying she's doing that because it is very important. We win small battles was another key phrase. We may not win the big ones, but we win small battles. Nothing gets solved in one day. We're not superheroes, but you have to stand for what is right. And they're hoping that the Arizona governor case, it's in the appellate court right now, and she is hoping that it can even make it as high as the Supreme Court, and it is very, very close. And she brought up some great things that probably YouTube doesn't want to talk about or bring up, but she talked about everything, the lockdowns. One of the things that I really liked, especially for this book that I'm writing, Kennedy and Trump, I really liked that she talked about reaching across the aisle to Democrats. And she, stopped short of mentioning Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I know she's been asked about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the past, but she made it a point to kind of bring up, that there are good Democrats out there too. And we should go talk to them. We should reach out to them. And the crowd was a little, well, they were cool with it. I think, people sitting next to me were nice about it and everything. But didn't get the applause that some of the other some of the other things did. But I was very happy to see that because she recognizes that the Democrat Party, or what they used to be, or at least what we thought that they were when I grew up, it is not what the party is now. And that's what I do like about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is I believe he can bridge those gaps. I think Kari Lake is very good at bridging those gaps too. And I believe Donald Trump is too. Just like she was saying, Donald Trump is a peacemaker. All the stuff that they throw at him, they come at him, they do all these things, and then we're supposed to act like he's the problem. When it's not Donald Trump that is the problem, it's the people that are coming after him. So when you hear of this new indictment, you're like, oh man, new indictment, another thing. That's, you kind of think, like she was saying, you kind of think, well, there must be some truth to it, right? If there's all of these different indictment, all these different cases and everything against Donald Trump, there must be some truth to it, but it's not. There isn't. And that's what she was talking about, and that's what I found out. And I tried to audio record a lot of it, and do a couple video clips too, just a few, just three or four. But it was a very lively crowd and a very nice respectful crowd. Like my brother-in-law was saying, it was like a Trump rally almost. But she's a great speaker. There, some of the biggest applause were when people were talking about her being Donald Trump's vice president. Now, I could definitely see that happen. She kind of, I don't want to say she shied away from it, but obviously she was talking about other things, making other points. But that got brought up a couple times. And I had, when I first heard about this event that was happening in Idaho, I had, thought, okay, like, why Idaho? Why is she in Idaho? Of all places that she could go, that she could be, she's focused in Arizona, obviously. Why is she in Idaho? What's she doing in Idaho? This is so cool. And she's from Iowa, and she made a couple jokes, a couple comments about, people confuse Iowa and Idaho, including Biden. And she made a couple great jokes about that, about how Biden, thought Iowa and then Ohio. And Biden's wife had to say, no, we're in Idaho. So we're not in Iowa. We're not in Ohio. It's Idaho. Anyways, there's a whole good thing that, but she lays a lot of very interesting things out. What to do, how we're going to get involved, why we should be involved to make sure that President Trump wins in 2024. She does not shy away from shenanigans that happened in 2020, talks about the lockdowns, talks about the issues that are happening in our schools, how they're trying to sexualize our children, some of the things that are happening in Idaho, in the state, with the public libraries and what they're putting in the libraries, which is pretty much porn. She spoke about teachers talking about their sexuality and stuff like that, and she was saying she grew up in the 80s, and if her teacher had talked about their sexual life, anything sexual, back when she was back in school, she said she would have been scarred for life. And I was like, that's a really good point, because I probably would too. I think about my teachers, like, I don't want to know anything about their sex life. I don't know anything about that. And apparently that's what we have in a lot of our public school systems now. The sexuality, the teachers making a stand and they're being praised. And she made some really good points about how things are just so backwards and everything is upside down. Some awesome, excellent points. And I am going to just play one or two of these clips here. This clip, a minute and 40 seconds. The audio is okay. The video is really bad because I was kind of far back. But I do want to play this, and I will be taking all of the 3 or 4 video clips that I have and the audio clips and trying to make a cohesive video. But I've searched to see, obviously it just happened, so the video is not up yet. But I do hope at some point we can watch the full video somewhere, because it is really, really good. Now, I may not be able to watch it on YouTube because of some of the content that we know gets flagged for whatever reason, but I do hope that that it will be out there. So it looks like at least there is a higher res video quality. So I downloaded this directly from my phone just a few minutes ago. So if everybody can see this, I'm going to go ahead and play this. This clip is about 1 minute 39 seconds.
The man did the impossible. He brokered peace in the Middle East.
Talking about Trump.
Historic tax cuts, even better than those that Reagan gave us. Nobody thought that was even possible. He made us energy independent. Remember the days we could actually afford to heat the house and put gas in the car without putting like a second mortgage on the house? He secured the border, which I think is the most important thing. Of course, living in a border state, well, every state's a border state now, but living in a border state on the southern border, I watched how terrible the border was for years, and then President Trump comes in, and he does what other politicians had promised to do but never did. He started to build that wall. And he had that border so secure. I've been covering Arizona for 27 years. I've never seen it more secure. He knew exactly what to do. We didn't have the fentanyl pouring in at the time. He kept people out who were coming here illegally while having a normal, healthy, legal immigration program. And then on day one, Joe Biden came in and he tore that back. And he exposed us to the biggest invasion our country has ever seen. It's an invasion. We're being invaded as we speak. And I'm not okay with Arizona being the pipeline for deadly fentanyl, killing our young generation. And we got to shut that down. And we need him to do it.
That was good. Let me just go back. So that's one of the clips that I had. I got maybe two more to play, but I mean, she just such an amazing speaker. I can absolutely get behind her as the vice president. I was even thinking this whole thing is, and she talks a lot about Trump, especially towards the end, and talks about Donald Trump's children, how classy they are, how nice they are. She gets into Biden, into the cocaine that is found at the White House, and like, I wonder whose that is. It's really good. It was a very entertaining night. It was sold out. Now it was at a church. I don't know how many seats. Most of the seats were filled up. I'm sitting there with my brother-in-law in my pink, or my pink, in my purple dress shirt here too. So I don't know if they thought we were together or something, but there were a few empty seats right next to me. That was about it. But it was fun. It was a really, really great time, and just a really good crowd. And you could tell the people were fired up. And that is so nice to see. It's so rare for me to be able to participate in something like that and just go and get to see it up close. $25 per ticket, the best $50 that I've spent in a long time. Put it like that. I said that about something else recently, but it really is. Um, and the only disappointment was that the book wasn't there, because I wanted the book. I'm going to get the book. I was hoping my local Costco would have it. They didn't have it, but there's a Barnes and Nobles around here, so I'm going to go and pick that up too. So I'm very, very happy, very excited. Got to learn a little bit more before Kari spoke. The Idaho GOP um, they talked about some things that I need to go and look up, because what they were saying, one of the things that the head, I think the chairman of the Idaho GOP, a very nice lady, very knowledgeable lady, and she was saying that something happened, and the primaries, they're moving the primaries back. I believe they're moving the Idaho primaries back to May, when they usually happen in March, if I remember that correctly. I was very confused about that part. And how they do the primaries in Idaho, in the Idaho state. But the primaries are not. I need to pay more attention to the primaries. Of course, my focus is really in the primaries is on the Democratic side, because I in the general election, I am going to vote for Trump. And then my plan right now, and I keep going back and forth, is to vote for Robert F. Kennedy in the primary, to vote in the Democratic primaries, not the Republican primaries. But she brought up some really great points and some really great things about, don't just think that Trump is just gonna win, and I believe he is gonna win, but don't just think, that we can all sit back and Trump's got this. He's got it. It's good. And I think maybe a lot of people maybe thought that in 2022, and the corruption. I feel the corruption was so bad that there's a lot of room for error, for purposeful error, possibly. And she talks a lot about that, and what happened to her, and how she's still fighting that. And one of the great points that she brought up, which I believe inspired a very popular song that all of you may know about. I haven't listened to it, but I'm sure all of you have at least heard. I've heard about it. I'm sure you have too. And the fact that Joe Biden allegedly got 81 million votes, the most of any president ever in the history, right? 81 million votes. That's crazy. And Trump, at the same time, Trump got the most for any sitting president. So, but one record, I believe, the other one, I don't. It's really hard to believe. And she brought up some great points about Biden. He wasn't campaigning really. The crowds were very, very small. he didn't do any primary debates and everything. So 2024, this is why it's so important for me as a voter to pay attention. I've not dropped, but I put a lot of my other projects on hold. This is one of the most important things. I believe writing this book and forcing myself to write this book, or feeling the calling from God, from Jesus Christ, to write this book, is a big, big step to keep me involved. It's one way to keep me involved. So every day I'm looking at, what is President Trump doing? What is RFK Jr. doing? And here comes Kari Lake, who is doing some excellent things too, and is doing some great things, and would just make a great vice president. I believe. I'd like to see, my dream ticket would be Donald Trump as president and RFK Jr. as vice president. The likelihood of that, I understand. They're not even in the same party, so how is that even going to happen? But when you think about, well, who is going to be President Trump's vice president, who is he going to want to fill those shoes? Because it's not going to be Mike Pence. We know that, and even Pence is running against Trump for whatever reason. Nobody's voting for that. The only guy I believe who really has a shot has already shot himself in the foot. Ron DeSantis. He would have been the perfect candidate for 2028. Perfect for it. Now I don't know. I don't know. And the one thing that I do like is that this does force President Trump to strongly consider joining the primary debates, to debate the candidates, the other candidates, which is before Ron DeSantis announced he was going to run, it seemed like Trump was saying, why, and maybe he had a valid point. If every other presidential candidate who is running on the Republican side, if they don't even have a shot, why should he give them a chance? But I think what we're seeing now is, you have Ron, you have all of these other guys who have a good shot here, and I want to hear their views, and I think a lot of people do too. A lot of people want to hear the views, and when I listen to these other guys that are running against Trump, aside from Ron DeSantis, aside from what's Pence, right? There are a couple good people. I'm like, wow. Now this Vivek guy, this guy is a very nice gentleman. He's a businessman too, just like Trump, and he's the only Republican presidential candidate that I know of. I like Larry Elder too, but he's the only presidential candidate that I know of, Vivek, and I can't pronounce his last name. One day I'm going to get it right. But he was actually out there supporting Trump and talking about how, this latest indictment or whatever it is that is going on with him, this is wrong, and we need to stand with him. None of the other Republican candidates did, as far as I know. Maybe they did, and I just wasn't paying attention to it. That's highly possible too. But I hope that they did. I hope that they did all say, what, this is wrong. This is wrong. You have Mike Pence saying the other thing. Ron DeSantis, I don't know. So I think they're kind of hoping that Trump goes to jail or doesn't get in, and then that will open up the door, right? And maybe that's the backup plan for the GOP, because if Trump can't get into office or whatever, right, all these legal cases, et cetera, then that opens the void, and you don't want it to just be Biden on the other side against nobody. But everything that we see that is happening with the FBI, with the corruption, is all about making sure that Trump doesn't get back into office. And wouldn't it be awesome if, even if Trump did go to prison, he still becomes our president and pardons himself? I think that would be pretty cool. I don't think we're going to get to that. I don't believe any of these judges are going to get to that. Oh, that was the other thing that Kari Lake was saying about the judges. She was saying that these judges, she's saying she keeps fighting this good fight with what happened to her in the governor election, and all of the people's votes that got, they're just all these weird things that happened with the voting machines. Anyone who remembers the 2000 election with Al Gore knows how all of this goes down, right? These hanging chads and things like that. But what one of the points that she was saying about, and I just lost my point again. It was just, it was such an amazing speech. I think she went about an hour, maybe a little bit less. I should be able to tell once I upload some of these videos here. But I'm going to play another one and think about the point that I was trying to make, and I probably will not remember it, but that is okay. That is all right. Let's go to video number 2.
They
Let's
were
put up here right now. And I mean, the crowd was hot for her. She was just amazing. Okay, got that, got that. Let's play this.
they were signing their death warrant. Can you imagine the fear of signing that? I mean, if you really think about what was going on in our country, we were being controlled by tyrants, the biggest tyrant ever, the biggest, worst globalist, the original globalist, King George. And by signing their name, and it was
Oh,
so
here she's
risky.
talking about.
Many of them lost everything. They could have died. Many of them did die, but they signed.
Here she's talking about the people who uh, are revolutionary warriors, right? When the country first got started. But I just remember the thing about the judge. She keeps going back to the courts, hoping that one judge will eventually say, you know what, I got to do something right here. This is not right. So she keeps taking it back to the courts, hoping that we will find that one good judge, the judge who will do the right thing and really take a deep dive into what happened with Kari Lake while she was running, while the votes were being counted or not counted, and all of that shenanigans that happened with those voter ballots and the people that were being turned out. She said over 250,000 votes. You know, there were some weird things that happened to them. You put in your uh, the voter card or whatever it is, and it would spit it back out. It would not take it. And then they moved them over to this other box, that things that they could just tabulate later on. So it's just strange things like that. They should not be happening here, right? I mean, we're being told we're going to other planets. We have the technology to do all of these awesome things, but we can't make sure that our elections are safe, that our votes are counted, that things like this do not happen. What companies are we trusting in here? You got, and she says it in Arizona, you know, it takes a whole month. And it's like, how could they be doing this for so many years and it would take one day, within one day we would know who was the winner? And there's no reason why we should not know. Sometimes there will be some strange circumstances like what happened in 2000 with Al Gore versus George Bush, but this should not be a normal thing, right? The voter machines breaking or not being calibrated right or all that stuff, that should not be a normal thing. We're just told this was a perfect election in 2020 and 2022, even though we have all of these things that were imperfect, right? So if the voting machines are not working, it's not a perfect election, and it's very clear to see. So let me get back to this. So she's talking about George Washington, the Revolutionary War, and how difficult it was for them. And I caught it kind of mid sentence. Go back.
They were signing their death warrant.
With the Declaration of
Can you
Independence.
imagine the fear of signing that? I mean, if you really think about what was going on in our country, we were being controlled by tyrants, the biggest tyrant ever,
The British.
the biggest, worst globalist, the original globalist, King George.
King George.
And by signing their name, and it was so risky. Many of them lost everything. They could have died. Many of them did die, but they signed that document. George Washington was assembling his forces in New York. They worked together. They fought to create this country and fight back those globalists. And we're in a fight, in my opinion, just like that right now. Players are a little bit different, but we're in a fight about saving America or losing her to globalism, which is just a fancy word for communism. And I'll tell you what, just as John Hancock and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and the rest were fulfilling their role in Philadelphia, every single one of those men, nearly 250 years ago, stepped up to the plate. And they stepped into that role that God put them here for. God put them here for that role. I know I'm in politics, you're not supposed to say God, but God put them here for that role. They were placed here 247 years ago, those brave men who I'm sure their hand was shaking as they dipped that pen into the ink and signed their name. I'm sure their hearts were racing. I'm sure they laid awake at night, scared to death. But God gave them the courage to get through that. And they were placed here at that moment in history for a reason. I believe just as they were placed here 247 years ago for a reason, each and every one of us, I'm talking every one of us was placed here at this pivotal moment in our country's history. And we have God-given skills. Every one of us has something we can do to help save this country. And he placed us here at this moment. And rather than being afraid, rather than feeling beat down, rather than feeling like I can't do this anymore, we need to wake up every morning, get our feet on that firmly on the ground, and say, thank you, God, for putting me here at this moment. Thank you.
All right, that was awesome. So while that was playing, I was able to find something on Twitter here. I'm going to go to this. Let's see if this will work. So this was on Twitter. This is Nick Moore, GOP Nick Moore. And absolute packed house for Kari Lake on behalf of the Idaho GOP. People drove from all over the state to be here because they know her message matters. They want fair elections. They want Donald Trump back in office. And then he posts a few clips here. This was really cool. I mean, just lots of great people. Only a few loud people, hecklers in the back here. But this was just such an amazing event, and I was glad to be a part of it. There is a video that I found also here too, where she, this is the video that they played right before she came on stage. And it's really good, and I do want to play it. It's about 3 minutes, 15 seconds here. So I'm going to play this, and then we'll be right back.
We're hearing about some issues with tabulating votes in Arizona's Maricopa County. I know this has been going viral on social media.
I was just going to call you. How are you doing?
Well, they've pissed off an already pissed off woman.
You've had some hiccups. Criminal! I can't believe it.
To understand why they stole this election, we've got to go back to the beginning. We have to speak out right now, or we're going to lose our country. We're going to lose our freedoms. And I'm willing to take on those big, tough problems with solutions that will work.
After nearly 30 years in the news business, Fox 10 anchor Kari Lake has decided to step down.
I realized that there was an agenda being pushed by the media. I didn't want to be part of that agenda.
Kari Lake has formally entered the governor's race here in Arizona.
I didn't realize how much one courageous act would mean for people.
All eyes have been on this campaign.
Who will be our next governor?
Who is ready for a change? I know you're with me and I'm with you. When we win, first line of action is to restore honesty to Arizona elections.
The irregularities at the places where they're trying to vote is really wild.
20% of the voting centers, 60% in Maricopa County had tabulating machine issues.
Ballots are not being read.
They gotta fix this problem. This is incompetency. I hope it's not malice.
This is absolutely normal, and we have tweeted out for Maricopa County.
No. Back up. Back up, right? Was it a lie of omission or commission?
He not only perjured himself,
Running from the
It's
answer.
going to be a long night.
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Kari Lake is not elected.
Listen, if we hadn't just elected somebody whose main qualification was being on TV, you could see maybe giving it a shot. The media's here from all over the world.
This is one of the most highly contested races.
I love you, Arizona! The reason this happened is because God wants to wake more people up.
Campaign staff opened an envelope in Kari Lake's office and it had a suspicious white powder in it.
Kari made a tremendous impression on millions and millions of people, even beyond Arizona.
This is not a campaign. This is a movement.
Stolen elections have deadly consequences, and we're going to put our foot down and not allow this to continue happening.
Has one Arizonan complained to the Secretary of State's office or anyone else about voter fraud?
We're actually being flooded with calls and emails right now, and I haven't had a chance to look at all of them.
Wow, powerful. Some very powerful stuff there with Kari. So as that was playing, obviously, when certain people come on the screen, you get a lot of boos. You know, it was just a very, very interesting night. All around good. All around very, very good. And I think I do have one more clip to play here. I was able to grab one of these. Screen cap. I was able to grab one of these. Who the Idaho GOP? We Are Idaho tells us the story and the history of Idaho. So before I get to the last clip, I will go ahead and read that. The last clip is just about 1 minute 40 seconds. We're all standing at this point. And then, like I said, I do have some audio clips, so I will take these short videos and the audios and try to make them into just one long video. And the audio is really good too. So I have at least 30 or 40 minutes of just audio. So that's good stuff. So I need to do something with it. I could probably play a little bit of that here too and just kind of mute myself. Maybe I'll do that. But I do want to just read a little bit about the Idaho GOP in case you don't know. We Are Idaho, and they had that video that they played too. So Idaho GOP, I hope you have a YouTube channel. I'm sorry, I need to go and look and make sure that you do, and hopefully you do. This is what it says. On July 3rd, 1890, Idaho became the 43rd state in the Union. That makes us just over 130 years old. Idaho's remarkable landscape, from the deep canyons and rolling hills in the south to the Rocky Mountains in the north, have contributed to its reputation as one of the most beautiful and distinctive states in the West. Known as the Gem State, Idaho has a rich history of mining, as well as a legacy defined by ranchers, farmers, and loggers. Generations of Americans travel to our beautiful state every year, following in the footsteps of Lewis and Clark. Idahoans are not defined only by the land beneath our feet, but by the spirit that lives in our hearts. We are defined by our undying belief in freedom, liberty, and especially for our love of God. We are families, teachers, farmers, truckers, and we're proud of our home. Idaho is more than a place. It represents a way of life where the love for the land and the values we cherish make it truly unique. We are Idaho, and we are Republican. Contact us, info@idgop.org. Whew, good stuff there. I like that. Very encouraged. And then on the other side, we have where it says Idaho GOP, we are Republicans because we believe in the United States Constitution, the greatest and most inspired document to govern a nation, and the Republican form of government. It gives us the best guarantor of freedom in history. Equal rights and justice and opportunity for all, regardless of race, creed, sex, age, or disability. Protect families and children, maintain parental rights, stop the indoctrination of students, and provide educational choice. Human life begins at conception. Human life begins at conception. Life is protected by the rights endowed by our Creator, along with the fundamental right of life, and shall not be infringed upon. lower taxes and less government, tax relief, government transparency, and reduce the size and cost of government. Free enterprise, encouraging individual initiative has brought this nation opportunity, economic growth, and prosperity. Faith, family, freedom. To learn more about the Idaho Republican Party platform, visit us at idgop.org. Enough said. I'm in. I like it. I really like it. Okay, let us move on to this last clip I have. Video clip. I got a lot of audio, and I may play some of the audio here, but this is the last video clip I have for tonight.
I was just going to ask, are you with me? Are you ready to mark your place in history as the generation and the people who saved this great country? We've got that DNA of those awesome political stud muffins, our founding fathers, in each and every one of us. And it's up to each and every one of us to go out there for the next year and 3 months and do everything we can to serve this country. Protect and defend this shining city on the hill, America. Let's make this next year one that we don't waste a single day. Let's make it one where we register people to vote, where we talk to people who don't agree with us, where we explain to them what we need to do to put America back on track. Let's make every single day and moment count for the next year and 3 months, and let's save America. Thank you, Idaho. I'm gonna do it. I know you will too. God bless you, Idaho, and God bless the United States of America. I love you guys. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I better be careful about the audio there. But you can clearly see, it was a really good crowd. I didn't want to get a copyright strike or anything like that, but it was so much fun. That's all that I can say about that event. And I've got about 40 minutes here. Let me see if I can pull up some audio. I will, there's just so much good stuff here. Let me see if I can find what I recorded. Let me try to play some of this for you. This is a 3-minute clip. Putting up the mic. Hopefully the mic can pick it up. Okay.
I love Idaho. I've been here a few days. I guess I could have picked a better time to come. This is a perfect time of year. How many of you are born and raised in Idaho? I'm from a state you're probably familiar with because they get mixed up a lot. Idaho and Iowa. I'm from Iowa. You know how it goes. People go, oh, you're from Idaho. They go, no, different state, not really close. They grow potatoes, we grow corn, and the thing we have in common, there's at least 2 things we have in common. Really good, nice people, right? And we are America First patriots. I was looking at a clip recently when Joe Biden visited, I think it was I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring the mood down. And you know Joe, he just can't quite figure out where he is, what day it is, who he is. As President Trump says, he doesn't even know he's alive sometimes. And I saw him saying he was in Iowa. He said he loved the Iowa potatoes. Then Jill was on the side of the stage going, no, Joe, no, you're in Idaho. And he goes, oh, I'm in Ohio. Oh, it is funny if it weren't so sad because we hate that he's sitting in the White House destroying our country. But I'll tell you what, I had a chance to drive through some of the most beautiful parts of Idaho. I didn't realize how gorgeous this state was. I'm from small town Iowa, so I appreciate our rural communities. We were in Coeur d'Alene, absolutely stunning up there. And I think Boise is actually really gorgeous as well. You guys are I know that Americans are rediscovering small towns, sometimes much to the chagrin of small town residents, because we're finding that as these blue states drive their people away with terrible policy, they're victims of it, and they're trying to get away, and they're finding great places like Idaho and saying, hey, we'll just move there, and we'll move to a small town. And I know that it could strain on some of these great states like Idaho, but we have to welcome people in, and I think the people I talked to who moved here recently said, we appreciate this so much, we're not gonna let it change. We wanna be here, we don't wanna be part of the problem. That's what we asked for.
Okay, so I don't know how well or how bad that went through, but I got at least another 20, 40, another 40, almost 50 minutes of that. So I will definitely be adding that for anybody. And like I said, I hope I don't have to, because I hope that there's somewhere that we can get the raw video, and people can watch it. I think it's a very important speech, and I was just so happy and blessed to be there. And there are some very good quotes that I look forward to adding to my book, Kennedy and Trump. This will be interesting. It will be interesting to see what happens with the primaries. Lastly, Kari Lake was asked, well, what are you doing now? What are you going to do now? And the future is bright for this lady, for this woman, for this very intelligent mama bear, as she calls herself, which is pretty interesting too. And the future is very, very bright. My guess is that she will become the vice presidential nominee, however that works, for President Trump. If not, I think President Trump is going to find a place for her. How about an election integrity committee headed up by Kari Lake? Who knows? Only time will tell, and only God knows for sure. But God bless you all. Thank you all for watching this. God bless you. And until next time, make sure to stay true. Be a good human being. Follow Jesus Christ. Do the best that you can. Love people. Love your neighbor. Put God first. God loves you. Never forget that. You are never alone. God is always with you, even until the end of the world. Amen.